and welcome to part 2 of the World Card Making Day here on Dream in Color 72207.com. I'm joining today Elizabeth Mayfield Hart over at Spread Joy Stamping, and we are together stamping on the hour and the half hour between 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock this afternoon, and bringing to you a variety of cards made with Stampin' Up products. I want to welcome you again. This is our session number 2, if you can believe it. I was not sure how the day was going to go through, which I think is good and bad because I love Saturdays. So on this particular session, and I can't believe we're both doing the Plaid Tidings back to back, so this is the card we're going to make in this session today. This is a Plaid Tidings with cinnamon cider cardstock, and I consider this to be one of the more masculine ways that you can approach this, even though there's a flower on here. But we're going to show you a couple of ways to, I'm going to show you the easy way to use the Plaid Tidings. It's a 6x6 designer series paper, and this too is one of the designer series papers that are on sale in the month of October for 15% off. So this is a great set of paper, and I'm getting ready to show it all to you. I'm getting ready to get my video up and comments up so I can see what's going on. All right, so before we get started, let's talk about the paper offering in this kit, or excuse me, in this selection of paper. Here are the stamps we're going to be using. I'll come back to those in a minute. But this paper is delicious. I love this paper. And in fact, I think it's been popular around the country because it has been on back order for some time. And this paper set has all of these, excuse me, obviously these that are of somewhat of a sort of a orange in nature or make me think of Halloween. This right here with the, looks like cranberry, no, that's cherry cobbler, I'm sorry. I just saw this made into a beautiful Christmas card a few minutes ago. And then we have these, and of course, any of the ones that are black and white. There is a black and white in here that is just really fun to work with. I can see me making some red with black and white. And of course, like a lot of our designer series papers, this is a double-sided paper, so there are some really beautiful options on the back side. So I'm going to show you the set that I used. So this is a plaid that is set on angle, which I think is really pretty. I love the way that this works. These are great colors. And, you know, if you're not aware of this, Stampin' Up, because they love us, whenever they do a designer series paper, on the label it tells you what the name of the paper is, but then it makes this way you know what colors are used in the paper so that you can go in and if you want, you can match your cardstock and your inks to the designer series paper so that you know you've got something that looks good. So, and that's one of the things that Stampin' Up is good about. Everything is, in fact, color keyed, and the inks and the pens and the paper and all of the ringers, everything is matched very well. So here's the piece of paper that we're using today for this particular card. So let me show you. Let me see if I've got it turned the right. Maybe I don't have it turned the right direction. Just a second. I can't remember how I did it. There we go. So this is, the reason I'm showing it to you this way is so that you can see if that's in fact the way I did it. Just a second. Well, it's irrelevant. We're going to show you that we take this 6x6 piece of paper, and I'm going to show you how you cut it so that you can use it to your greatest advantage. So this is 6x6, and what we want to do is have a piece that is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is the front of an A4 card. So if you remember from the first video, this is going to be half of an 8 1/2 by 11. This is 8 1/2 inches. This is 5 1/2. 5 1/2 is half of 11. Scored at 4 1/4, which is half of 8 1/2. So we're going to pick up our mini trimmer, I think. Yeah, no, we're going to use our regular trimmer. And let me show you what we'll do here. Because we want it to be 4 1/4 inches wide, or tall to make the paper, we're going to find our trimmer, and we're going to find the 4-inch mark, and then we're going to go over 1 tick mark, because we know that that is the 1/4 inch works all the way across here. In fact, on the top part of this, you see the 4 here, and so here's the line for the 4. So 1 more over, it would be 4 1/4. So if this is easier for you to see here, let me put it up here like that. So that's 4 1/4, and you cut this piece off just like that. So there's that piece. And you say, well, I need a piece 5 1/2. So this is a 6-inch wide piece of paper. So then you cut that at 5 1/2. And I see what I did. Okay, now what we're going to do is, while we have this piece of paper right here, we're going to go ahead and cut this at 1/2 inch wide as well. And we're just going to trim it up like that. So the nice thing about the trimmer is these 1/4 inch lines go on both sides. So if you only need, this goes to 1 1/2 inches over here, so that you learn what some of your landmarks are. It makes it super easy to cut your paper quickly. This is the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, and you'll notice there are 2 different blades. This dark gray is the cutting blade, and then this light gray is actually a scoring blade, so that you don't have to have 2 tools to do all of your scoring. I like this because I can score my cardstock right here, and just in case you're curious, this arm does reach out to about 17 1/4 inches. So you have a great way of putting together your cards and even working on your larger pieces of paper if you're scrapbooking maybe in a 12 by 12 format. All right, now don't forget to comment today on these videos as you're watching them. That'll give you an opportunity to earn some door prizes. Comments are going to be entered into a drawing at the end of the day, so you have until 8 o'clock to comment tonight. And then the prize that you're going to win, one of the prizes is going to be a set of 5 cards that we make today. So here's your 8 1/2 by 11 cut in half, scored at 4 1/4. This is your card base. We're going to be making a horizontal or landscape card, and this piece was cut large enough to cover the front of the card. So let's go ahead and adhere this to the front of the card. Now I'm using this old snail because my Stampin' Seal, I ran out and it has not arrived yet, but that's okay. I'm making do. And if I had to, I could go with the liquid adhesive. So there's the card base. Now for this particular, the way we're going to construct this sunflower is I've die cut pieces already. I've cut the base, which is a solid under here, and then I've die cut the outline here. But in preparation for today, I went ahead and lined up my base piece in my Stamparatus so that it's ready to go. Now, one of the things that I would normally do if I were making a number of production, I would actually cut a piece of cardstock probably about 5 by 5. You'll see it's 5 inches, 5 inches, and make a square, give or take. And use that as with the magnet to hold it down, and then simply put my interchangeable pieces here, and so that you can just assembly line your stamping. But we didn't do that today. This is actually adhered very lightly with a very small piece of tape of adhesive, just because I got it lined up last night. When I was putting together all my notes for doing this today, it got later and later and later, and I finally just had to raise the white flag and go to bed. So this is the Stamparatus. This is, many of you have seen this. What I've done is, this is a great way to do repeat stamping or assembly line stamping. So this piece is the cling stamp from the Sunflower, Celebrate Sunflower. It fits here, and then I'm just going to push it down, let the ink transfer, bring it back up, and there you have a beautiful sunflower stamped right there. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up, move this to the side. And what I like about this is that, yes, that's pretty, that's okay, but it's very one-dimensional. And so what I'd like to do is come back and use this outline, and you can see the difference here, and this is going to fit perfectly on here. Now, you got to hold your mouth just right to get this to line up. There are a few different tricks you can use. And once you figure out where everything goes, a lot of times I will actually mark my dies. One thing I use on this particular stamp is that these 3 petals right here, I kind of look at those sort of as shark's teeth, and I can figure out where they line up on this outline. So what I'm going to do is put this on here. Now, I will tell you that for this purpose, if you line it up exactly with the die cut, you're going to realize that you're a little bit off center from the flower, but I think it's okay. But I'm going to cheat a little bit and just adjust it ever so slightly. Nobody's going to notice, and so you're just going to do that. Now, the way I adhere this is I hold it down on one hand, like this. Then I pick up my Tombow multi-purpose glue. This is what we call green glue because the lid's green. And this is one of what we have, a wet adhesive, one of our wet adhesives that we sell. Stampin' Up! Has wet and dry adhesives. And you might think, well, why would I need 2 adhesives? Well, let me just tell you, every adhesive has its purpose. Wet adhesives are great because it gives you time to wiggle. So if I were trying to line this up perfectly, until this adheres, I have time to move this paper around ever so slightly. So we're going to set this over here and let that dry while we finish stamping on our card. Now, what we're using today is from the Best Year stamp set, which are a number of sentiments, which I think are really great. So you have the thank you for all that you are and every thoughtful thing you do. Wishing the best year yet. Happy birthday to you. Happy Father's Day. To the world, you are... Where to go? To the world, you are a dad. To me, you are the world. You did it, Helen. These are some great sentiments, and you can use them interchangeably with any number of other products that we have. The other thing is the Best Year. This comes with this has bundled with a die builder, a plaid die builder, which I plan to use later in this month on one of my Work Table Wednesdays. All right, so let's set this aside. Let's set this aside. Now, let me remind you that you should be commenting on this as we go. That's how you're going to earn your chance to win the door prizes. And also, if you see something you like, make sure, if you don't already have a demonstrator, you can always order from me using this host code 67TB7YR9, or you can order from your favorite demonstrator. And if you're one of my customers, I hope I'm your favorite demonstrator. So we're going to take this and stamp this thank you for all that you are on the far right end of this piece of cinnamon cider cardstock. I'm going to stamp it right there. And I'll tell you that not every card you make has to be overly designed. To be perfectly honest with you, as I was putting this card together this week, I pulled up scraps from my basket of papers, and this just happened to be a leftover piece from a series of cards I made in August, and I already had these cut, and it just so happened it was the perfect size for that sentiment. But you know, I felt pretty lucky about that. So now we're going to adhere this on the front of the card. And again, this is not scientific, but I like the plaids because you can use them sort of to line things up. And I like putting this here a little bit taller. But what I like about this card is that it's not necessarily, you know, sometimes it's a challenge for us to find cards that are appropriate to send to our male friends. Sometimes our cards are very much very floral or very pastel-y and soft, which I'm not saying you can't send a pastel or soft color to a male, but a lot of times I gravitate to wanting to send something that's a little bit visually heavier. And of course, at this time of the year, these are beautiful colors to send to anyone, be it male, female, dog, cat, horse, whatever. So we're going to now use the dimensionals to add a little dimension to, obviously, to pop it up off the card. And we're going to set this up here just so that it's inside the margins, because you don't want this hanging off and get in the way of your envelope. So there's the card like it is. Now I want to come back and add a little bit more to it. And I've chosen to use these gilded gems. or the Joyeux Dorés, which I love. I love the fact that Stampin' Up! Is an international company, and I love reading their product descriptions and names in the other languages. It just cracks me up because sometimes we can act like we know what we're talking about and we start sounding really, really funny. So on the first card, I put these around the sunflower in different pieces. I don't particularly like what I did there, so I'm going to choose to put these gems elsewhere. I'm not going to put them necessarily on the sunflower. Now, when you're doing gems or any sort of embellishment of this sort, it's a good idea to stick to a rule of, well, at the very least, use 3. That gives you a visual triangle. It's very balanced, but also you want to stick with the rule of using odd numbers. For some reason, your brain prefers to see odd numbers in these types of settings. When there are even numbers, it tries to balance it or tries to set them aside. It's really kind of weird. This is a throwback to when she would do flower arranging. You always wanted to make sure you had an odd number of stems in your main elements when you were making a flower arrangement. So we're going to open the card now and do a little bit on the inside because sometimes, okay, this is a nice card as it is, but you know what? Let's open this up because we also want to finish off the card on the inside. Sometimes it's okay to have a blank card on the inside, but let's go ahead and finish this off and put the sentiment on the inside. Now this says, and every thoughtful thing you do. So this is going to be a nice, simple sentiment. Let's put it in the middle towards the top. There you have that, and every thoughtful thing you do. And then one more thing that we're going to do to add a little bit of personality to this card is we're going to take that little piece of 1/2 inch that we trimmed off the front of the designer series paper. There's my adhesive. Sometimes this stuff gets out of the way. So, oh, let me push this up. I didn't realize I was out of camera. I'm going to take the designer series paper and we're going to adhere that on the inside of the card right here so that you'll see we have a little personality so that when you open the card, you have a little personality and you're just continuing that theme all the way through. That's really a nice way to finish off a card, and I think it looks very professional when you do that, and I think it looks very finished, let's just say. So, and you know what? You can either line it up at the very bottom like I just did there, or you can pull it up a little bit, or you can always stamp some other sort of element on the inside of your card to help finish it off. Now, we have a little rogue, little renegade piece right here, because remember these were this was a 6x6, so that was the 6-inch piece. So there you have this card. So you have the original that I made, and then here's the one we made in this session. So, you know, even though they are identical plans and identical designs, the nature of the paper actually changes the tone of the card. I like both of these. I can see using this sentiment and this setup and this design with perhaps white, Whisper White cardstock, using a different color for the ink. I can see using this design for any number of thank you cards this fall and through the winter months. So if you like what you see, please comment. Let me know that you like it. Remember, there's a drawing of all the people that comment throughout the day. There'll be a drawing at 9 o'clock tonight. You have until 8 o'clock tonight to comment. And if you like what you see, let me know, and I would really appreciate that. Don't forget that if you do want to order, today is this is the October host code. And the other thing is, we're making cards, so what you need to do is send a card. This is make a card and send a card. Make a card and send a card. So thank you for visiting with me. It is 10:49. You've got almost 10 minutes to go see Elizabeth. I can't wait to see what she's doing next. When we come back to my channel at 11:30, we're going to have a super quick card using some of the supplies from Stampin' Up! And just a smidge of stamping, but we're also going to be using some of the other products, the memories and more cards, because that is a quick way to come up with a really nice looking card. So come back here at 11:30. In the meantime, go to Spread Joy Stamping at 11 o'clock at the top of the hour at 11. So you have about 10 minutes to go grab a snack or get ready to go. And then I'll see you back over here. All right, thanks a lot. Thanks for coming by. Have a great rest of your weekend and a great Saturday. Bye-bye.